2 Samuel chapter 5. David king over Israel. All the tribes of Israel came to David at Hebron and said, "We are your bone and flesh. In the past, when Saul was king over us, it was you who led Israel. And the Lord said to you, 'You shall be the shepherd of my people Israel, and you shall be their ruler.'" Before the Lord, King David made an agreement with the elders of Israel who came to him at Hebron, and they anointed him king of Israel. David was 30 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned for 40 years. He reigned over Judah from Hebron for 7.5 years, and over Israel and Judah from Jerusalem for 33 years. David captures Jerusalem. The king and his men set out for Jerusalem to fight the Jebusites who lived there. They said to David, If you try to break in here, the blind and the lame will drive you away," which meant that David could not get in. Yet David captured the fortress of Zion, which became known as the city of David. That day David said, "Whoever wants to defeat the Jebusites, let him reach these lame and blind, David's enemies, through the water shaft." From this came the saying, "The blind and the lame shall not enter the house." David lived in the fortress, calling it the city of David, and he proceeded to build a city around it from the middle and inside as well. And David grew more powerful, for the Lord, the God of hosts, was with him. Hiram, king of Tyre, sent messengers to David with cedar trees, carpenters and masons to build a house for David. David then understood that the Lord had made him king over Israel and had exalted his reign for the sake of his people Israel. After David had come from Hebron, he took more concubines and wives from Jerusalem, and more sons and daughters were born to him. These are the names of those who were born to him in Jerusalem: Shammua, Shobab, Nathan, Solomon, Ibhar, Elishua, Nepheg, Japhia, Elishama, Eliada, and Eliphelet. When the Philistines heard that David had been anointed king of Israel, they all went up to search for him. On hearing this, David went down to the stronghold. When the Philistines had come and overrun the valley of Rephaim, David consulted the Lord, "Shall I attack the Philistines? Will you deliver them into my hands?" The Lord answered David, "Go ahead, for I will certainly deliver the Philistines into your hands." So David came to Baal-perazim, where he defeated them. He said, "The Lord has scattered my enemies before me like a sudden bursting flood." That is why that place is called Baal-perazim. There the Philistines left their idols, and David and his men picked them up. The Philistines went up again and overran the valley of Rephaim. David consulted the Lord, who said, "Do not go up straight, but circle around and attack them from behind when you are in front of the balsam trees. Once you hear a marching sound on top of the balsam trees, act quickly, for the Lord is going ahead of you to attack the Philistine army." David obeyed the Lord's command and struck down the Philistines from Gibeah to as far as Gezer. 2 Samuel chapter 6. The ark brought to Jerusalem. David gathered together once more all the picked men of Israel, numbering 30,000 in all. Then he and all the people with him set out to Baal of Judah to bring up from there the ark of God, which bears the name of the Lord of hosts, enthroned on the cherubim. They placed the ark of God on a new cart and brought it out of the house of Aminadab on the hill. Uzzah and Ahio, sons of Aminadab, were guiding the cart with the ark of the Lord, when Ahio walking before it. David and the Israelites were joyfully celebrating before the Lord, singing and playing lyres, harps, tambourines, castanets, and cymbals. When they came to the threshing floor of Nacon, the oxen stumbled, and Uzzah stretched his hand to the ark of God to hold it. The Lord's anger burnt against Uzzah, and God struck him down there. Uzzah died there beside the ark of God. David was very angry because the Lord had struck down Uzzah, and that place is called Perez Uzzah to the present day. David was afraid of the Lord that day and said, "How can the ark of the Lord come to me?" So David refused to take the ark of the Lord into the city of David, but had it brought instead to the house of Obed-Edom the Gittite. The Lord's ark remained there for 3 months, and the Lord blessed Obed-Edom and all his household. King David was told that the Lord had blessed the family of Obed-Edom and all that belonged to him because of the ark of God. So he went to bring up the ark of God from the house of Obed-Edom to the city of David, rejoicing. After those who carried the ark of the Lord had walked 6 paces, they sacrificed an ox and a fattened calf. David well ran dancing with all his heart before the Lord, wearing a linen ephod, for he and all the Israelites brought up the ark of the Lord, shouting joyfully and sounding the horn. As the ark of the Lord entered the city of David, Michal, Saul's daughter, looked out of the window, and when she saw King David leaping and whirling round before the Lord, she despised him in her heart. They brought in the ark of the Lord and placed it in its place in the tent which David had pitched for it. Then David offered burnt offerings and peace offerings before the Lord. Once the offerings had been made, David blessed the people in the name of the Lord of hosts, and distributed to each of them, to each man and woman of the entire assembly of Israel, a loaf of bread, a portion of meat, and a raisin cake. With this all the people left for their homes. When David returned to bless his household, Michal, Saul's daughter, met him and said, "How the king of Israel honored himself today, exposing himself before his servants' maids as uncouth men do." But David said to Michal, "I did that before the Lord, who chose me instead of your father and his family, making me commander over Israel, the Lord's people. As the Lord lives, I swear that I will again dance before him. I will humble myself still more, and I will be abased in your esteem, but I will not be rejected by the maids you spoke about." And Michal, Saul's daughter, had no child to the day she died. Psalm 123. Prayer in distress and persecution. To you I lift up my eyes, to you whose throne is in heaven. As the eyes of servants look to the hand of their master, as the eyes of maids look to the hand of their mistress, so our eyes look to the Lord our God, waiting for a sign of his favor. Have mercy on us, O Lord, have mercy on us, for we have our fill of contempt. Too long have our souls been filled with the scorn of the arrogant, with the ridicule of the insolent. The Holy Gospel according to John. John chapter 1, verse 1 to 28. The Word became flesh. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was in the beginning with God. All things were made through him, and without him was made nothing that was made. Whatever came to be found life in him, life which was also light for all people, the light that shines in the dark, the light that darkness could not overcome. There came a man sent by God, his name was John. He came as a witness to bear witness to the light, so that all might believe through him. He was not the light, but he came to bear witness to the light. For the true light was coming into the world, the light that enlightens everyone. He was already in the world. It was through him that the world was made, but the very world did not know him. He came to his own, yet his own people did not receive him. But to all those who did receive him, who believed in his name, he gave power to become children of God. These are born not from human stock, nor from human passion or plan, but from God. And the Word became flesh. He pitched his tent among us, and we have seen his glory, the glory of the only Son coming from the Father, full of grace and truth. John bore witness to him openly, saying, "This is the one of whom I said, the one who comes after me ranks ahead of me, for he existed before me." From his fullness we have all received grace upon grace. For the law was given through Moses, but grace and truth came through Jesus Christ. No one has ever seen God, but the only Son made him known, the one who is closest to the heart of the Father. The testimony of John the Baptist. This was the testimony of John when the Jews sent priests and Levites from Jerusalem to ask him, "Who are you?" John acknowledged the truth and did not deny it. He said, "I am not the Messiah." And they asked him, "Then who are you? Elijah?" He answered, "I am not." They said, "Are you the prophet?" And he answered, "No." Then they said to him, "Tell us who you are so we can give some answer to those who sent us. What do you say about yourself?" And John said, quoting the prophet Isaiah, "I am the voice of one crying out in the wilderness, 'Make straight the way of the Lord.'" Now these persons had been sent by the Pharisees, and they put a further question to John. "Then why are you baptizing if you are not the Messiah or Elijah or the prophet?" John answered, "I baptize you with water, but among you stands one whom you do not know. Although he comes after me, I am not worthy to untie the strap of his sandal." This happened in Bethany beyond the Jordan where John was baptizing.